So welcome back to a brand new video. This is going to be a little bit different from the Madden videos I've been putting out. What I'm going to be doing is putting out a series of videos that are really a beginner tutorial for chess. So where this will start will be only knowledge you'll need to have of the game is how to move the different pieces, the movement patterns they have, and that's about it. So through this series, what I'm planning to do is play on chess.com, which is the largest online chess website, starting at a rating that a beginner would have, which I have about 750 here. Master level is usually 2,000 or higher, so it's way, way, way below that. And as I play these games, I'm going to provide commentary and insights. I'm going to talk about what I'm doing, what I'm thinking, what you should be thinking at this point in the game, and almost more importantly, pointing out what my opponent is doing and pointing out their mistakes, because that may be an even better source of knowledge here at this rating. So if you know anything about the game and are interested, this will be a perfect series for you. To see more content like this, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment if there's specific questions you have or a specific type of chess video you would love to see. So happy to entertain that. And with that, I want to start the first game here. So I'm going to start this one a bit slower. And these are 5-minute games, meaning each player has 5 minutes. If you run out of time, you lose right away. So I'm going to move my first piece here just so the game doesn't cancel out. But I have the opportunity, or the ability, I should say, to highlight the board. I can draw arrows. I can do all different sorts of things here to show my thoughts as I kind of progress through the games. So this is what we call the opening. It's not really a set number of moves, but in the opening you're looking to do 3 different things. You're looking to develop your pieces, and when I say pieces, I mean minor pieces, which are your bishops and knights. You're looking to fight for the center, so when I made this move here, it's attacking that square there, as when he made that first move, it's attacking these 2 squares. So again, you want to fight for the center. And the third thing is prepare to castle. So they all kind of work together. And what castling is when you move these 2 pieces, this knight and the bishop, out of the way, and you have nothing between your king and your rook here. You can kind of swap their places, and it'll put your king in a very safe place here. So his moves here, what he's continuing to do is really fight for the center and develop his pieces there. So this is kind of a standard opening. Most often you're going to see either your E or your D file, and when I say file, I mean column, and you can see the different letters in the corners of the squares here, so I'm going to refer to them in that way. Your D file, your D pawn or your E pawn or your D pawn are generally going to be the first ones moved, so the ones that are in front of your king or your queen. So again, this is a pretty standard opening. Both of us are kind of making moves that help us develop, nothing too aggressive. So there's a lot of different things that could be happening here. Making exchanges, trading pawns basically. So he moved that pawn forward, now it's attacking my pawn. If he were to take it, then I can take back with the bishop. So it's everything. The first step that I always tell beginners is when your opponent makes a move, recognize what that move is doing. Is it opening up a line here? So like when he moved that pawn, now the bishop has this line here. What else is it doing? So obviously, like I said, that pawn is attacking this pawn here. So I'm okay with that. I'm going to go ahead and castle. So that was an example of castling. And we have the knight and the bishop moved out of the way. So that's an opportunity. So he could move his e-pawn here. He could take. He could develop this bishop. So I'm always trying to keep in mind the different moves that he could possibly make. So that is a move that I'm a little confused by. Now I want to try to attack because of that. So I'm going to move this pawn forward. So now it's attacking that knight there. And this knight is what we call hanging. There's nothing protecting it right now. So he may have to go somewhere like here to attack the pawn. I can move the knight there. So there is a bit of flexibility with what we can do here. And I'm kind of putting a little bit of pressure on him. So now that piece, that knight, was the only thing protecting this pawn, so I can go ahead and take that. Okay, so he moved his queen over to here. Again, we want to first look at what that move is doing. It's attacking the knight. I probably have some tricks here attacking the square here. Let's see, if we take that, he takes the king, we move the pawn, so he's not going to be in check. And pawn forward. I don't think there's anything too clean there, so we're going to play it safe. We're going to move back. Now that move there, moving the knight backwards, it attacks the queen. He still can't take that pawn because he has he has 1, 2 things attacking it, and I have 1, 2 protecting it. So in the next few games, I'm gonna maybe pick the pace up a little bit, but I want to be very clear with my first kind of few games and the moves I'm making, and try to explain a little bit of insight. So I see a really good move coming up here. Put my queen there, and what that does is fork, which means attack a couple of different pieces at a time. So it would be attacking that knight there, and also the rook. So if there is a move to protect it, it would be difficult to find. So he was able to block that move from happening. Obviously, if I go here, we can just trade queens, and that is not the same as what I was just talking about. Okay, so I do see a little tactic here. Tactic is generally like a trick. So what I'm going to do is queen here. That'll put him in check, and I can also attack that knight by doing so. He would have the option of protecting by moving the knight back, but then it can be taken with the pawn. So pretty simple trick, but just things like that always you have to be aware of. When you have pieces like this kind of floating on my side of the board without any protection. What am I saying? Okay, I can't take it because that the bishop there. But we're going to trade off. See if we can get in a better position here. So we're going to develop our pieces a little further. I can't take it again because of that bishop that I was overlooking. So now this knight comes in. We're attacking that pawn with 2 pieces here. He could do something like put that bishop over there. And I can first move that pawn there to attack. So we're only move 13. He's going to be his 14th move here, but there's a lot going on. But we want to take a step back and kind of look objectively at the positions we have. My king is in a lot safer place because it's castled. My pieces actually are not that well developed because I still have these 2 here, but I'm definitely a little bit ahead of him in development. Okay, so what I have to do is be careful and move my queen out of the way, because if I don't, what he'll do is play that, move the pawn forward, which the pawn would be attacking my knight here, and his bishop would be attacking my queen. So I'm going to play it safe here. So we see the time is going by. Obviously, I'm doing a bit more talking, than I need to be doing. But if I get low on time here, then I'll speed up a little bit, just for the sake of making sure we get the win. So one thing that he needs to look out for, if he were to move the queen away from this pawn here, I can take it, and that would be a problem for him. It would put him in check, and it would put his king in a very bad position. Just like that. So all we did is get a pawn there. So a pawn is only going to be worth 1 point in material. So I'm up 2 pawns we see down here. But overall the position is not very good for him. I also had an option to take here, which is probably a little bit better. That would be forking the king and the rook. But we're just going to keep applying the pressure here. So we're going to develop that knight. Okay, so he's trying to attack our king here. Okay, so we're gonna trade off here. That'll be okay, and then we can take that back. Actually, we'll take that first. So what'll happen is he'll take the rook, we'll take the knight, and then his queen will be attacked by that. And then we'll have some good attacking opportunities with his king being there. We can check over here. So just trying to think ahead and see opportunities in front of us. So normally this is not a good trade for me. I'm going to get that bishop, and he'll get the rook, but the rook will be worth 5 points of material, with the bishop only being worth 3. So he definitely wins that exchange. That was an interesting move that will not benefit him. So he's sacrificing the knight to try to get an attack going, but I don't see it working. Let's put it that way. So he's running very low on time, so he's obviously under pressure, and kind of just looking to make something happen at this point. Okay, the best thing we can do here is just forcing a queen trade if he even sees it. Okay, so that's the first game. I'm going to go a little bit faster, but still try to echo those same principles there in the opening. So we want to attack the center, so these 2 pawns are probably going to be moved up first. So that is not not a very good move that he made there, because what I'm going to do is take the pawn, obviously, so he'll probably go somewhere like here to attack it, but it's not a good position for him already because he's playing from down a pawn. Going to be down 2 pawns now and out of position because that knight is just kind of in the middle of nowhere. So I'm going to kind of ignore it and go ahead and continue to develop my pieces here. So I move that pawn forward, which allows me to move that bishop either here or here. Okay, so he's going to check us there, but it doesn't really lead to anything. And it is something you see a little more commonly with lower rated players or newer players. A lot of checking without kind of a follow-up or without really a long kind of meaningful line there. Oh, he actually has a really good move that I had missed there, but he doesn't see it. So what he could have done is I take back, and then knight check. But we're going to trade queen, so he can't do that now. So now he can't castle, which is really important. So because his king is moved off that initial square, he no longer has that opportunity. So it's a good opportunity for us, I should say. So we're going to go ahead and castle, and we have these 2 pieces that we want to get developed. So again, one thing I always pay attention to is whose king is better protected. And it's definitely ours here. So he is going all out for an attack. I don't see a good reason. Oh, that was not the right move. This is hanging, so he's probably going to take that, and I should probably pay a little more attention to that. But we will be fine. And for some reason he did not take that, and we're going to win a piece here. So we're checking the king, but also attacking the rook. So we'll take that, he'll take back, and we're going to play it safe here. So I guess I'm a little bit rusty too, missing very simple moves like that. So you can kind of tell that he doesn't have a big plan of what he's doing here. So like, he's trying to use 2 pieces to attack, and when you attack, it's really a team sport. You have your whole team here, so you want to get the whole team involved in the attack, not just 2, because when you have 2 pieces like that, the attack's not really going to do anything. So again, he's stuck now. He has nowhere to go. So he was protecting the knight with that bishop. I moved the pawn in the way, so the bishop is no longer protecting that knight. And for the knight to go back, it has one of 2 places. Oh, see, this is the stuff that I need to pay more attention to. He could have just taken the rook. But we're still better here. And hopefully I'll be better as well moving forward. Okay, so we'll attack the center a bit more, because there's so many pieces off the board. We're kind of further, we have the beginning, we have the middle game, and we have the end game. So there's not really a specific number of moves or way to tell which one you're in, but sometimes it's kind of just naturally understood just by the number of pieces left on the board. So we're kind of approaching an end game here. So I want to try to get my king a little bit towards the center, and I just want to get a hold of the center here. So I might trade for that bishop there. I don't know why he would do that. That's a terrible move. It's giving me a free minor piece there, really. So I'm just going to finish my development and kind of see what he's doing from there. So he's obviously just kind of sending these pawns down to attack, but they're not really doing anything. So I'm not totally sure I get his reasoning here. Okay, so I'm going to bring my rook over, and now we see all of our pieces are attacking kind of crucial squares of his. Okay, so he's trying to push, but I'm going to push forward and really just block him out from that opportunity. And we're going to play this patiently. So we're going to attack there. He can't go there because of that, that bishop. And we'll put the knight there. We're attacking there. We're really just kind of taking squares away from him. Alright, let's play a trick on him. So he's going to take that pawn. No, that's not the trick we wanted. Okay. Okay, so this is protected. The knight is protecting the bishop there. So we're going to go ahead and take that. He can take that pawn. I can take his pawn there. But more importantly, we can take that first, and we can checkmate him right there. So that was a bit more of a patient game than the first one. I made a few mistakes there for sure, but really just trying to focus on the principles. And at this rating, I don't think any of these games should be a challenge. So I'm going to play this video out until I hit a rating of about 800. So maybe 4 or 5 more games. There's another standard opening. We have our 2 king pawn moving out first. I'll bring my knight out, and again, I'm attacking the center. I'm developing my bishops and my knights, and I'm preparing to castle. So very standard things. I'm trying to play fundamentally sound chess here and win some games. So again, this is not a recommended move. I don't exactly know what he's doing. He may attack my f2 square here, which is kind of making my king a little weaker, but he's going to be sacrificing a piece to do that. Another rule, because your moves in your opening are kind of limited and you want to get a lot done really quickly, you don't want to move the same piece more than once. So when he already moved that knight the second time now, he's really taking away from his opportunity to move a different piece. So that's something you definitely want to avoid. Okay, so he's trying to put some pressure there. Okay, so we'll attack, takes, and then if our queen, he might just move back. We'll see what happens here. But I definitely don't recommend this opening for the black pieces there. Okay, so he'll take. So he's trying to play a little tricky here. It's not, though. Okay, so here's the trick, is he can play queen there after. So I'm actually going to play that so he doesn't have that opportunity. What I was going to do before is take, he could take back, and then obviously I could take, but there's kind of an in-between move of queen here. It's something you learn just by, 1, thinking ahead, but 2, having seen these types of games many times before. A lot of chess is repetition and practice and kind of pattern recognition kind of at its finest. So it's things like this I would never expect kind of a beginner player to know, but you know that they do exist, these type of patterns, and they are extremely helpful to know. Okay, so I'm going to ignore this move for now, because if you were to take, then I can take back, and I want to continue developing. I'm going to move the bishop out and attack his queen. Obviously that's protected by the knight. So when I look, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces all staring kind of at his center and towards his king a little bit too. So really good attacking position, but when you see 1, 2 have not been developed, that's a bit of a problem for him. Now the great thing is here, when I put the bishop here, he can't move that pawn, which would help him open up that diagonal to attack my queen. I'm sorry, my king. So that's definitely a good opportunity there for me to continue to have that there. And I want to continue to protect my king because his king is a little bit safer than mine, and that's because he sacrificed that piece, so it's kind of a trade-off. So I'm going to move the rook here. We're going to try to protect that pawn. And I like our position here, and I obviously like our chances to win this game. Okay, what should we do here? I do have an option of, if I take the knight there, I'm attacking king and rook, I'm sorry, queen and rook, but then he can check the king there, so I might avoid that, and I may just push and try to get a little bit of pressure. So that's going to be, that pawn that I'm pushing forward is going to be protected by both these pieces. If he moves that forward, that's not a big deal. And it kind of works his way up the board. He can attack that knight, and I can always come back to here. So I don't see any kind of downside to that move. If anything, I can just do it now, and that's protected by that there. So he really just gave me a free pawn. So thank you. But yeah, so this is a tricky position for sure. So this is a position you want to take your time. Make sure you're making the right moves, and it is just so easy to miss something in a position like this. So yeah, the complications can be what makes kind of chess what it is. So now I have a choice. Do I let him exchange, take, and again, I still have that protecting there, or do I push it further? And if I do push it further, he has 1, 2 attacking, I have 1, 2 protecting. So a pawn does get weaker the more you move it up the board, but in this case I think I like doing that. In this moving it forward just because it's getting so close to attacking his pieces here. And I can always get more pieces involved to kind of help with the attack there. So I could put a bishop over there, I could get my queen like over here to get ready to attack on that diagonal. A lot of options, and when you have a lot of options, it generally means that you've got a good chance to win. And then there's always that to consider, that taking there. I think he missed something. So obviously he can't take this back with his queen, or else I would take with the rook. So we definitely had a good position before, but it's going to be a lot better now. And this seems like a bunch of desperation moves, so this is probably going to be the end of the game very soon. Okay, so next we'll have a lot of options because his past few poor moves. And to protect that, obviously he can play there. At this point the moves aren't too relevant, but I still want to continue to play sound moves and just lock up the win here. I don't see a quick win, but there are wins for sure. So again, just kind of looking what he's doing there. The knight can take, but if I take back with the pawn, that his pawn that he wants to kind of move down the board is still kind of stuck in place there. So I'm going to move the queen in. I'll always have an option of taking. He can take back and then check. Really put that king in the corner there. Perfect. It's a good little trick here. He'll take back. I'll check him with, oh, he won't take back. I don't really know what he's doing. Yeah, I don't think he knows what he's doing here either. Okay, so we'll protect with the bishop there. Obviously, he can't go here. He can't go here because of the rook. And his options are just running out at this point. So my knight is still under attack because he never took it, but his queen is under attack, and that is going to be a higher priority because that queen is worth a lot more. Alright, let's do this. Let's put him in check, and then we'll move the knight to safety, and we'll continue to just move pieces in on his king. We might move that rook over, attack that file there. His rook has really nowhere to go to kind of help him at this point. And we'll do a fun little trick here if we can pull it off. So if he plays something like that, we have rook takes. There we go. Rook takes, king takes, and then rook here, and we have a checkmate. So that's a neat little tactic, keep in your back pocket there. So, what, 3 games in now? Playing a little sharper than the last game, which was poor by my standards, but I think we're getting onto something here. Okay, so again, a very standard opening. Both of our king pawn / e pawns have been moved. I'm going to play that same knight to f3 here. So we have a different follow-up by him. So we're going to trade pawns. Then I'm going to play d4, pawn to d4, I should say. And he looks very confident in his opening. Sometimes that's really good. Sometimes that's not good. Sometimes it means you can make a mistake. So I'm going to make some development moves here. We'll trade off. He's going to take with this. Oh, with this knight. I was going to say queen, but I guess not. And let's see if we can play a little trick on him. Takes. We'll play knight there. If he goes back to here, it's checkmate. And I believe that is checkmate. We're just going to put that queen there. So that's something to look out for. When you get this set up here, and there's nothing to protect that pawn there. So again, the combination was I take with the bishop. Oh. So he can protect there. So we'll just continue to develop, and he's in a lot of trouble. So he's up by 2 pawns, but we have an attack that can kind of end his game at any time. So I think that's a fair trade-off. So he still has to find some way to kind of threaten us here. And that's checkmate. The whole idea of putting this bishop there is to protect that square there, but moving his knight there took that away from him. So I don't want to play too many short games like that because it takes away from the ability to kind of analyze and do learning here, but it is good to see that there are tactics that can end games quickly, and that's an example of one. So it's, again, that pattern recognition theme. There's so many tactics trainers that you can do in chess that just help you recognize patterns like that. They're extremely helpful. Let me go back a little bit here. So I played that same pawn to e4, then knight to f3, and he's moving both his pawns to the center there. So I'm continuing to kind of attack the center. Obviously the next move to make here will probably be that light square bishop. So we have the light square and the dark square. The dark ones are on green here, but a normal chessboard would be dark. So we're going to trade pawns, and when I'm looking ahead, so I'm going to take, he's going to take, I can take his queen, he can take back with the king, and then I get a pawn there. So I'll be up by a pawn, and he can't castle because his king has already moved, so that's a winning opportunity for me, or a better opportunity, I should say. And now one thing to look out for here is if I can attack the pawn there without him playing something like that, then I'm attacking both the king and the rook here, so just like that. So very quickly I'm getting a strong lead in material and position in this game. So it's, errors in the opening by my opponent are leading to a better position for me. So this knight is pretty much done. So we're going to leave him there, and we can't really fight to protect it yet. Maybe later, but at this point it's a no-go. So we were able to castle here. The next priority is to get these two developed, but I also want to get him out of the center a little bit and continue to develop. So it's going to make it difficult for him to move all his pieces out. So I still have a move like moving this pawn forward. I don't understand that move. He attacked a pawn with his knight, and I take back with the bishop. And it is one thing you do see with players around the skill level, just bad exchanges here. They'll trade a pawn for a piece and maybe miss that something is protected, or just really not be planning ahead. So it is always worth taking your time and kind of planning ahead and finding the next move you want to make. So here's a really good example of a tactic when you see two pieces like this with the pawn that can be put right between them. When you put that pawn between them, more likely than not, the pawn is going to, if the pawn is protected, you're going to win one of those pieces. So right here, pawn's attacking both. The bishop could take it back, but I would take back with that pawn. So here, I imagine I'm going to win one of these two pieces in one fashion or another. And I did not, because he checked me. So, like I said, I'm more likely than not, but I didn't see every opportunity there that he had. Okay, so let's put him in check there. I'm looking at that pawn there to attack. Yep. And same kind of tactic we did on the other side. We're attacking both the king and the rook, and we're going to be able to take that rook. So it'll be a nice little dancing knights here in both the kind of corners of his side of the board. Oh, we're making some good progress with that. So because I'm up by so much material here, I'm going to want to try to trade off pieces. Keep it nice and simple, and that's kind of the best way to lead to victory. So the first thing I see is I attack. He has to move his king out of the way. Well, actually, he can't go there because of the knight. And with that, I'm just going to trade a bishop for a bishop. And now this gives me an opportunity to get that knight to safety. I wasn't expecting us to be able to, but here we are. And I don't believe we'll be able to save that, Traveler, but sometimes that's the way the game goes. So if we're able to get one of these pawns up, it can become a queen. That's a great opportunity for us. So quickly, I want to get that bishop off the back row, the back rank there, so I can put it into place to protect. But let's go ahead and push that pawn down the board. So we always want to just kind of keep a lookout for opportunities to attack, because these knights can be very, very tricky. So if he were to make a move like king over there, no, actually I'm looking at that wrong. Yeah, we want to try to progress that pawn. So I'm going to put that rook to protect it as it moves its way up. And it looks like he might attack there, but it's not going to turn into anything. Let's see if that's what he does here. Yep. I'm going to put the rook there to attack back. So when I turn that into a queen, he can take back with the knight. So maybe I will try to get rid of that knight first, but I'm not seeing a good opportunity to do it. So quickly we'll just make a trade. Obviously our position is much better. We're up in 13 points of material like we see down in the corner here. And at this point it's really just about getting his pieces off the board and working our way into a checkmate. It's not really if it'll happen, it's just making it happen, and maybe it'll take a few moves. Okay. So I'm just going to play some simple moves here, try to take some of his pawns. Don't give him opportunities to really do anything. Obviously, he could take the knight, I take back with the pawn, and then it gets run right up the board. Only thing he has are these 1, 2, 3 pawns that are not going to lead anything. This little trick by him, if I were to take that pawn, then he can take that knight. That's a bad arrow that I'm drawing, and that's a mistake of a move. I did not mean to do that, but we're okay. Okay, so we'll move that pawn. He can take to kind of stop us from turning it into a queen, but again, it's not going to be able to salvage the game for him. So he's kind of eyeing down that square there. And take that. Okay, so let's go in for the checkmate. So we have this rook attacking that whole column or file there. Put that in there, so that could put him there. And we'll now bring our queen in. So we want to use all our pieces to work together to get that checkmate. I haven't calculated it out just yet. But I think this is it. No, he can take that. I have to be careful because he can take that rook in a second. If I'm not careful. So one thing we do want to look out for in these positions is a stalemate, and what that means is if he has no pieces on the board. Oh, that was not what I meant to do. But if he has no pieces on the board or that can move, then it's a stalemate and ends in a draw. That's problematic in situations where you have a much better position and you should win, but when you end in a draw, that's not the result you want. But because he has this pawn here and that can always move, we'll never get a stalemate, so that's something I looked for kind of immediately when we get the kind of king stuck here. So I'm going to put that rook there. His king can't move, and now we're going to checkmate him. So probably about 2 more games until we hit about 800, and I'm going to stop the video there. But so far I'm hoping this has been very instructional, some kind of insights that are helpful and really help kind of further the way you think about these types of games and positions overall. So looking at the opening, we have these e-pawns. You see it a lot. There are a lot of repetitions in chess. There are a lot of openings that people play a lot, and this is one that you shouldn't play. And the reason for that is you don't want to move your queen out this early. It's very aggressive. I'm a better player than him, so I'm going to be able to attack that, and I'm going to do it by following my fundamentals. I'm going to move my knights out. I'm going to try to develop, and he doesn't seem to be doing that. So maybe against a lower rated player, he would be able to get away with this, maybe get a couple cool attacks, but here it's not going to work. So I'm going to continue to protect that piece that he's attacking, and he's going to kind of run out of steam with his attack very soon. Okay, so I'm going to fill up this. So yeah, he has 1, 2 attacking that bishop, I'm sorry, that knight, and I have 1, 2 protecting it. And then after this move here, I can castle. But he still has 1, 2, 3 minor pieces on his back rank, and he's going to be way behind in development. So that is not good for him. And we trade pawns, and I take back with the knight, and now his king is under attack. I'm sorry, his queen is under attack. I can also go there soon and attack the king and the rook. So he is setting himself up for failure, and that's not a good thing to do. So I need to be careful. So I can play that check there, but he can take that pawn, which would be getting ready to attack the rook. So I'm actually going to castle before I go here. But you see I have all these pieces in the center. We saw this attack a few games ago, but I'm going to move that knight back. So now we're attacking 1, 2, and we're also protecting that. So when you put these knights in the center of the board, they can do everything and anything because they can reach so many different squares, and they're just tricky overall in their movement patterns. So I don't think he's going to have a good follow-up move here because I'm pretty sure I can just take that bishop and he won't be able to take it back. And his king is still right in the center, so pretty soon I can move that rook in, I can get my queen involved and attack, and we're only on move 11, and I'm already looking to take his pieces and end the game. So that's just kind of a lesson of why you need to play fundamentally sound chess. And I'm looking for tricks here. I don't see anything too beautiful to play here, so I'm going to go ahead and just take his piece and enjoy a better position. So here, I'm going to try to trade queens. I took back with my queen. I had the option to take with my bishop instead. But if I take with the queen, we can try to trade queens. And when you have a better position, it will usually benefit you to trade queens. And we did not here. And we're going to attack now. So I'm going to check him there and see where he goes. And I'm going to move pieces in to just try to get that the kill shot, the final move. Okay, so we can take. He can't take that pawn, so I'm protecting it. I can take the rook. I can take the knight. I can do whatever I want at this point. So I really don't see what I'm doing here as anything kind of spectacular, anything way too advanced. I'm really following my fundamentals. And trying to make sound moves that kind of keep me in a good position to win here. So he moves that knight out of the way. So now that rook is being attacked. I'm sorry, the rook is attacking my queen. So I'm going to have to retreat it. And what better place than right in front of his queen to try to trade them off. So if we were to trade queen for queen, and I would take back with the pawn, I have 2 rooks, a knight and a bishop. And he only has a bishop. I'm sorry, he only has a knight and a rook. So obviously that is a much better position for me. So obviously he is not going to want to trade. But I can continue to kind of take pawns and make my position better here. So I can't take this pawn here because the queen's protecting. But what I can do is put the rook. Ooh, that's a aggressive move. It's actually a good move because he can take that and I can't take that back. I didn't see that. Huh. But what I can do is go here. So if he were to take, oh, and he didn't see it. Okay, so take, and he takes my queen back, and then I take the rook. It's like I was outlining before. I now have 2 rooks and a bishop to just a knight. So he realistically has no chance of winning. So I'm going to try to take these pawns. You know, the knight will come too. And I'm going to checkmate him shortly. So again, it's one of those situations where you know you're better, you have a better position, I should say, and you have no real threat of losing unless you make a terrible mistake. But the win, the way you checkmate or the way you get the win is not there right away. So there's a number of different things we can do here. Oh, I was about to say I think that might happen soon, but we're okay with trading that. Because if you were to take the knight, now we have 2 pieces to no pieces, and that's just kind of a clear win. So I think the simplest way to do this is to just move this pawn down the board. We can let him take really both of these if he wanted them, because there's no way that he can block that from happening. He would have to do that with his king, which is on the way other side of the board. That pawn can't do anything. So he might try to come in for that pawn now. But he can never take that rook because it's protected by the bishop. And I think queen there looks like a fantastic move next. If he plays there, we can queen here. Okay. And we're just going in for a checkmate. We're going to use these 2 together. We can use the bishop too if we can. I think he has to go here. And checkmate. Alright, so I'm going to play one more game and wrap this video up. Been going for about 40 minutes, a little longer than I was expecting, but that's okay. We have the opening video here, so maybe we'll cut this one in half. We'll see what it looks like, but a lot of stuff going on here, and as we progress through the videos, we'll definitely see an increase in skill in the opponents. So there's a little more cohesion of the moves with these past few games by my opponents. Not enough to really threaten me losing, but it makes the games a little more competitive. So back up here, I'm okay on time, so I'm not too concerned with that. So standard, he played his e-pawn, so I moved my c-pawn, so it'll be attacking that center there and looking to exchange. He moved his c-pawn. I'm going to move my e-pawn, so really just putting kind of stuff in the center there, and knight, and this is a clear opportunity for me to just take that pawn when he played h3 there. So he kind of just overlooked that. Now I can move that pawn there. Oh. So he attacked it. We'll move it back. We'll move that pawn up, and we'll get ready to develop these other pieces. So he's playing aggressively, playing g4. He could also do that soon. It is attacking that knight there, but it's way too aggressive. He's opening up the pawns on his king side, and once we kind of get away and weather the storm of his pawns kind of coming after us, it'll be a very easy win. So he's trading kind of a bad position for attacking chances, but in all likelihood, they're not going to be anything that'll lead him to victory, put it that way. So we'll get that bishop out next. We'll check him. If he blocks with one of these 2 pieces, then we'll probably trade. Okay, we'll trade here. Take. Okay, so we'll move that out of the way just in case he wants to exchange there. He could go there. Oh. Okay, it's not a bad move. Obviously attacking the rook, so we're going to get that out of the way. So he's taking a few pawns, but I'm not going to be too concerned. So we'll still look for him to take there. So our king isn't as safe here, so he's getting a decent attack, and he can move these 2 pawns down the board, but I get a good feeling I'm going to be able to get after his king before anything like that really takes place. So we also have that move, the move for the knight here, then checking the king and the rook, so he can move out of the way or kind of protect himself before that happens, but again, just trying to think ahead and give ourselves good attacking chances. So he's moving back, which is interesting. So I'm going to go knight here. If he attacks it like that, I can always put that pawn there. And kind of see what this all leads to. So it is possible he puts that in there next, which is fine. We'll just come back, and then that knight is protected. So our king is not very safe, so this is not really the best position, but I do feel pretty comfortable with how we have things. So I'm going to get the queen up, and I want to move that bishop next also. I may actually try to push that pawn up the board. Another option is to actually move that pawn forward because now it's protected by the queen. We can attack his queen. He can't go queen here because that would be check. We would win that. So a lot of things to just kind of keep considering. So he wants to trade. Do we want to trade? That is the question. Okay, let's check him here. If he blocks, we can take that pawn and then attack that rook. Although we'll have to be careful. So if we take, he can play rook here and then attack. So we're not going to do that just yet. Alright, so we got to be patient here. Take that pawn. So he's playing very well. I didn't think he would get this good an attack from it, but I'm still fine with our position. Or even on material. I don't think either king is particularly safe. So I think it'll be the first person to make a bad mistake that'll lose, but I'm hoping that's him. So he's attacking the knight. We're going to move that back. He can't press forward, or else we just take with the pawn. So I see the knight going kind of there would be a good square for it. So it's in the center. It's attacking his queen. That's a good move. What that does is I can't move that knight now because it's we have a pin to the king. So I'm going to move the king over to get out of that. Can't take that pawn. I don't know why he would do that there. Oh, because he can take that. I see. Okay, so he's going to play rook over. So he's getting into our king's area, but I don't think it's a problem quite yet. So again, we have the opportunity to take there if we want to. Alright, so what he's looking at would be taking there, but he can't because of the bishop. So we have a little trick here. Let's see if this works. Nope, it doesn't work because it's not in that file. What am I doing? Alright, we're going to do this. We're going to check. We're going to take if we can, and then we can take that after. I still don't like the rook there, so we're not going to do that. Alright, let's attack his queen, see if we can back him up. We move that pawn up, then we can attack that rook. So we have to be very patient here, as we are. But I don't think he has a clean attack. He'll probably want to play that rook over pretty soon. But he'll need to kind of get a good opportunity to do that. And if you're watching the video all the way through this point, thank you so much, because hoping this has been very helpful. Okay, so if he might miss it, but we can trade queens here. Oh. He did miss it. And that's a free queen. So we trade there, but we had that. Oh, and he didn't stop that either. We'll go for the checkmate. We have 1-2. He can obviously play that there to block it. But I'll just move the queen out of the way over to here. And then we'll trade pieces. Okay, checkmate. Alright, so we are at 800. This will be a much longer video than the others. Others I'll probably only gain about 50 rating. Here we did a little bit of an intro and I think like 70 to 75 rating. So again, if you're watching this point, thank you so much. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of the video. If there's a better way to teach you, something you're looking to know, let me know, and I'd be happy to kind of get a response there. But look for the next video to be coming out soon. Thank you so much.